Hey everybody, Michael from the Sewing Place here. Today we're going to talk about needles once again, and this time we're talking about the twin or the double needle and some of its many uses. You're going to love this versatile little needle and you're going to want to add it to your toolbox. Stay tuned. Twin needle sizes are really easy to understand. The 6.0 indicates it's 6 millimeters from one needle to the other, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and so on. The number next to it, such as 80, 90, and 100, just tells you how thick the needle is and what size it is. Like any other needle, a twin needle has a flat side on the back. So here we're going to take out the old needle, just a single needle, and then we're going to insert the twin needle. Now you really want to push that in firmly to ensure that it's properly seated, and then you do want to tighten it down quite firmly. When we go to thread the sewing machine, you want to use both spool pins, especially if you have them built in. If you don't, you can always get an auxiliary spool pin or a spool stand. You're really only going to thread these differently where they can separate. For example, in the tension here, we have two sides we could go down, the right or the left. You'd pick one for each spool and you merely separate those. You will have to thread the needle by hand because this is a different shaped needle and the needle threader will get damaged if you do that. So here we're going to thread through the same path and really only separate that where we made that distinction that we were going to separate those threads. Once again, come down and manually thread the needle. One of the features I love about modern sewing machines is that we can actually determine that we're going to use a twin needle, and you can even tell it what size twin needle you're using. Here I'm choosing the 1.6 millimeter twin needle, and that's going to keep the zigzag from going too wide and breaking the needle, but further it's also going to display the stitch on the screen as it would look sewn with those two needles. Do the simple task of 2 rows of stitching in one step, or we could take it a step further and try to do pin tucks. So with a pin tuck presser foot, it's actually designed to allow that twin needle to create tucks in the fabric. It's really just a matter of sewing on a single layer of fabric and then moving that fabric into the different slots. Each time you sew a different row is going to make that fabric raise between those twin needles and just give you a beautiful result. Here you can see the results. So easy to do. Simply sew row by row with the pin tuck foot and the twin needle. This will really elevate your sewing. Of course, we're accustomed to seeing a lot of twin needle work in a lot of the professional goods that we buy. Here we're going to choose a 6 millimeter twin needle to do a flat felt type seam. I really want that to stand out a little more, so I'm going to choose a triple stitch. That's really going to embolden this and give me a beautiful look. I love modern machines because a lot of them today will have a projection system that will project that stitch onto the fabric and really give me a great sense of how that's going to look. So here we're saying we want to shoot the stitch on the fabric, and you will be able to see then, because we have it set for twin needle, that the lines of the stitching will be shot onto the fabric, so I'll really have a great sense of how that's going to sew. In this application, I really love the twin needle and what it does for my sewing. Of course, we could also use this for the t-shirt hems like we see in all of our t-shirts we buy in the stores. Just be aware that that is a specialized machine that makes those in the store, so it won't quite look the same or perform as well. Decorative stitching is really where the twin needle shines. We can have different color threads in. Here I'm going to choose a 1.6 millimeter twin needle and play with some fun stitches. So first off, again, I love this projection on this Viking Epic 97Q, and you can see how the stitch is going to form on the fabric before you start sewing. Simply stunning. Next, let's try a star stitch, which is now doubling up that star stitch. Again, interesting results. Let's put different colors in and do my favorite with a twin needle, and that's the scallop. Look at that result. A twin needle can also be used on your embroidery machine. I'm going to open my Creative app for Viking and Pfaff, and I am going to create an embroidery design. I choose a photo from my photo roll, and then I tell it that I want it to be a line item type of embroidery. Choose the size, and then I send it to my Pfaff icon. Guess what? The Pfaff is ready to sew that design out. We definitely want to go into our settings on our machine and ensure that we are telling the machine that we're using a twin needle. Stop by the sew-in place today and pick up your twin needle. Various sizes exist, and it will elevate your sewing and just be fun, because isn't that what sewing's all about?